Welcome, welcome to HearthCenter. We are back. It is week 3, and I am joined tonight. I am Donde, of course. I am joined tonight by Lotus Knight, Icon, and our special guest SKitLLeZ. Lotus, I'll start with you. How are you doing this evening?
Hey Donde, how are you doing? Things are well over here.
It's good to hear. Good to have you back again. Icon, as always, nice to see you. How are you tonight?
Good, bro. How you doing?
I'm here. I'm a little sick, so if I feel nasally and sound a little congested, I apologize ahead of time, but I'm dealing with it. And SKitLLeZ, this is your second show in 2 nights. You're a popular guy. We did book you first, just saying. But how is it? How's it going? You're being on the Superior show.
It's going really good. Glad to be here.
I like it. Very professional. You didn't feed into my bait. Just keep it professional the whole night, and we'll be doing good. So we are talking about a few things this evening. As always, we're going to talk about week 2 to recap what happened last week in Legacy, Hero, and Pro, and of course we will talk about week 3 as well in all 3 series. But what we're going to be talking about tonight, a couple special topics. We talked about decks earlier in the THL meta as a whole, but we're going to specify a few tech cards we think that might help swing your matchups tonight. So we're going to go ahead and do a deep dive into tech cards this evening, and also talk about our new hero team. We'll go a bit more in detail when we get to that point, and we'll talk about no pros here, which is where SKitLLeZ is from, the community that has joined us here in THL and has been such a great addition in the first few weeks of this new THL season. So, without further ado, let's get to it. We want to talk about week 2. We'll start with Legacy as we normally do. So let me bring that up on the screen for you. Should see that momentarily. You won't because I was on the wrong thing. Opping is hard. I don't know if you guys know that, but it is difficult. Hey. Downtime stuff. All right. So we are going to start off with the week 1 leaders, Dad Legend versus Hearthstone and Chill. We normally focus on the player matchups here, so let's take a little bit of a look here at what happened in this matchup. Myanodon with a big sweep over Pond. Overall, Catman's the only one who's 2-0 for Hearthstone and Chill. Everyone else is 0-2 right now. Is that a bit of a shock based on the lineup here? Shadow Ranger, very solid player, 0-2 out of the gate. Actually, he's going to flip down to the 2 seed, it looks like, based on the PR change. I'm not surprised by Myanodon being 2-0 for Dad Legend, but yeah, this is an interesting matchup, I thought, and I didn't expect it to be as much of a one-sided affair. Icon, what did you think about? Did Icon disappear? Where you going, bud?
No, I'm right here. I'm just closing my windows.
Oh, sorry, bud. Didn't mean to blow up your spot. But anything jump out at you guys here? Icon, anything you liked? Anything you were disappointed by? Maybe a little underperformance, anything like that?
Pond, no smear, 2 out of 10. Rescue Catman from this team, please. That is all I have to say.
Yeah, it is 0-8 across the board, 2-0 for Catman, so that is tough. I mean, plenty of time for to turn the season around, but yeah, it's a rough start there for Hearthstone and Chill.
Dad Legend is very good, though. I will say, it's not too big of a deal.
Oh, without a
doubt. This would be worse if they lost this to Vandergrift or something. I don't know, but there's a little bit of a factor here where you can sort of write off a bit of a match like that as they're already one of the absolute top teams. So it was a little bit more expected that we weren't gonna have the best time going into them, and I think that were they to play against some of the more middle of the pack teams, we could get a better sense of whether that 0-8 is gonna stick around or not. So.
Yeah, 14 points through 2 weeks is not ideal, but it is still early in the season, and you do only need to make the top 4 in your conference. So it's not like you gotta topple Dad Legend or any of those top seeds. You just gotta get into the dance, and there's still plenty of time to do that. And there's plenty of time for that next team on the list too. You see Vandergrift Esports down there, as you mentioned. They fell to tap last 14-8. But we did see some positives here. I think Benjo gets his first win in THL. I'm sorry, Josen gets his first win. I apologize. Benjo lost 3-0. No offense there, bud. And Gamer Panda gets his first win. So a couple wins in the upper seeds for Vandegrift over some pretty good players, Base and Triss. So I like that. That's a little bit of a spark from them. Lotus, I'll ask you here. I don't know how much you've been following the new team Vandegrift, but was there anything here that really stood out to you?
Sorry, can you repeat?
Was there anything that stood out to you for Vandegrift or TapLast for that matter?
So, both Bass and Triss are solid players. I think it shows that their team probably didn't adapt much because it's not easy to start just the first week going into Conquest is definitely not easy, and a lot of them don't start as good as they wish, but they definitely are starting to catch up. And a 3-0 win against Bass is pretty nice.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm hopeful.
And not to to take anything away from TapLast, of course, Icicles, Ducharmo, and Volkai all swept as well from the 3, 4, 5 seeds, and they're all starting the season 2-0. So that's actually kind of a scary thing. I think that TapLast is doing so well out of the gate, and Base and Triss haven't really gotten going as far as what we know they're capable of. And Icicles is actually going to pass both of them and become the 1 seed. Triss is going to fall all the way, I think, by the math here to the 3 seed, and Ducharmo is just outside of the 3 seed himself. So they're going to, I think, continually see a lineup shake-up this season, and that's going to maybe help them as people, might be playing out of position, might allow them to bounce back up against some of the lower seeds as we go along here. Skittles, I don't know how much you know about either of these teams, seeing as you are a very new addition to THL, but is there any anything that stands out to you here at all?
Yeah, I'm pretty new to THL in a whole, and I haven't competed or seen anything about Legacy, so I can't really comment too much.
That's all right. We'll get to you when we talk about Hero, and that's a little bit more in your wheelhouse, so to speak. But let's move along here and take a look at the next 2 matchups in the Red Conference. So we've got DMB versus a Noyo team. Now this was a close match, 13-10. 2 sweeps, Surlos and Icy Finney, both getting their season off to 2-0 start, and Tony Montana as well with a 3-2 win over Nulltown. A Noyo team, another team that is... I scrolled too far. My bad, guys. Another team's another team that is off to a little bit of a slow start, and DMB, they've been a team for a while, and they're obviously a very strong team. Not surprising to see them be in the upper echelons of Red as well. So I really like the quick start here for Surlos. I think a lot of questions were surrounding him in the 2 seed, but he seems to be handling it just fine.
Yeah, I faced Surlos in the and he was a pretty good player. I played so poorly my match. I apologize to him, but he is a solid player. I think he can be a fairly good 2 seed.
Yeah, absolutely. And Icy Finney, I believe, started as a 5 2 seasons ago, and he's just been tearing it up in the 5. He's moved up to 4 now, and he'll actually get a crack at the 3 seed this week, as Brushy Tuna is going to slide on down to the 4 seed. Brick Sniper, this is Legacy.
I got you.
I appreciate you, Icon. And next is our final Red Conference matchup. It was Saturday Night Pain Gang versus the Misfits, and SPG got off to a rough start in the season in Week 1, but corrects with a 16-5 win over the Misfits. Coles got his first win of the season. I got my first win of the season over Kel, and Freeloader got his first win of the season in a big sweep. Special thank you to Black Magic for making a guest appearance. He is a former SPG member, and he filled in for Darkside this week and took out Onfall, which is very, very impressive. I will say, obviously a little biased here, but I like everything that I saw. Rage Doppel did end up getting swept by Chewbacca, but Chewbacca is a fantastic player who plays, I think, far above that 78 PR. Any opinions on this? Anybody want to chime in or pat SPG on the back for not being dead?
So SPG is a horrible team because they lost to us. No, I'm just joking. I think you guys are a really solid team. It doesn't surprise me at all. The Misfits is, I don't want to say one of the weakest teams in Legacy, but it's probably one of the weakest teams in Legacy. That being said, is a very nice record. Coles went 3-0 on Inspire, which is still a big match. You beat Kel 3-1. Yeah, it seems pretty nice showing.
Yeah, it was good to get back in the win column. It's never good to defend your the conference title and then fail to really get out of the starting blocks. But it's still some work to do. It's nice to be on the right side though, and hopefully we can build on that this week, which we will talk about later. But we'll bring up the gold conference here. Which we will lead off with your team, Lotus Knight, versus the Wet Boys. So Wet Boys versus Round Table. Lotus.
Yes.
Oops, I scrolled a little too far here again. I'm gonna have to get used to where that is. So this is a battle of some power teams. Round Table came out and whooped SPG in week 1, and Wet Boys is sitting at the top of the Gold Conference right now. So obviously got you 3-1 Lotus. Daravis continues to just be impossible to beat as he's 2-0 and he took out Itachi with a sweep. I guess I'm not surprised necessarily that Daravis won because that's what he does, but over Itachi with a sweep is what surprises me there.
Yeah, Itachi said he was pretty unlucky, but it is still very impressive. Daravis is a player that should be a 1 seed. The fact that he's playing on the 2 makes it pretty strong for the team, and Wet Boys looks like a really good team. I do think this match was a lot closer to a 50-50, just from the experience of talking to everyone right after they played their match. This was kind of one of those matchups. A lot of the matches where I thought it would go one way went the other, and everyone was just putting in a lot of work. I would say both teams prepped a lot, and it definitely showed off.
Yeah, Copper bounces back too. He had a rough week 1, but he gets a win over Quirky Turtle in the 5. Back to his winning ways. Icon, what do you think about this matchup? These are two very highly touted teams.
I'm glad that Roundtable at least put up 10 points for sure. That'll definitely keep them in the running because I think both of these teams are still at the strong end of Legacy, like regardless of the game score. And I think that when Roundtable gets put up against some Hearthstone and Chills, some Vandergrift Esports, some Misfits, if they get that cross-conference match, then I don't know. I think it should go a lot better for them. I think they're still a very good team.
We got the cross-conference match with Donde.
No. They did work in their cross-conference match for sure, so they didn't need.
Who are they gonna? Yeah, then in that case, then who's okay? I'll ask you guys this then: who's the team that you think in gold that's going to be the week where they can most boost their points?
That's a great question. I mean, like if we're looking at this here, right now, Wet Boys, Destubs are the top 2 with Roundtable being 3rd. I mean, Abejas is a strong team. I think that they can stand, alongside any teams. It might actually be Prep that is the team that benefits the most.
Isn't Vandergrift in gold?
No, wait, the team that benefits the most? I'm saying like the team that that Roundtable can get like a 20-point week off of, you know what I'm saying?
I think it's Vandergrift, right? Aren't they in our division?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were saying that the team that you wanted to most that could do the most work, not the team that you wanted to face necessarily.
No. The team that okay, because you know how every season every team gets maybe 1 week. Well, unless your name is the Stubs, but like every team has 1 week where they can just drop like 21 points or something like that, and just sure. Completely like have that one blowout week. Like there's always a specific matchup that you're looking for if you're like a legacy team going into like a season of THL. I'm curious what that is for Gold Division and for Roundtable. You know, that was my question.
Okay, I understand what you're saying now. It's so hard to tell when you're looking at these schedules which team is the crossover team. So I'm actually going to the I'm going to the legacy schedule here to see if I can get a direct answer to your question.
I'm pretty sure it's Vandergrift since they haven't put much of a show yet. I think they can get better. Yeah.
Vandergrift, Pod People. A risky option would be to say Prep, but I don't I don't
mean,
know about
I
that.
think Pod People is deceptive. Like right now, their score isn't fantastic, but they are filled with fantastic players who know how to win. So I'm not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if they turn it around. I mean, Vandergrift is probably the team right now that everyone is kind of, licking their lips when they see them on the schedule. But I wouldn't be so sure that they're not just trying to get their sea legs, so to speak, with THL. And I think that we've noticed an improvement from week 1 to week 2 already, and I think we're going to continue to see improvement. And by the end of the season, they'll be very competitive with some of even the stronger teams in gold.
I think they're 700 PR below cap, so as a betting man, I would place the statistical advantage on teams that are playing Vandergrift. But I mean, I'm all for optimism.
Yeah, and also I just want to note sometimes it takes players a long time to get confident in THL and just start performing. It took a very long time for me for me to basically leave 2-3 seed PR and just go into 1 seed. It took me basically 2 seeds.
Yeah, it can definitely be tough to adjust, especially with it being a somewhat unique format, the closed list. The prep is much different than what you would do for like an open cup, for example. So it takes time. It takes time to get used to the week. I don't want to call it a grind because that kind of connotes that it's less fun and you're just kind of going through the motions. But a full season, scheduling your matches, getting used to prepping each week, it can be a bit of a grind. And I'll ask you, Skittles. You've been through now 2 weeks of THL. How do you feel about like the week to week prep process? Like what kind of goes through your mind, and what do you talk about with your team?
Well, there's a lot of prep that can go into closed list stuff, especially with like tech cards, like we're going to be talking about. For instance, like last week, I brought Hungry Crabs to my match with Icer in basically every deck that I had because I knew that he likes playing aggro decks,
My
and
man.
a lot of them are using Murlocs, right? So I teched those in. I still didn't get the win, unfortunately, but we'll talk about that later.
We definitely will.
Um, but yeah, like there's so much more that you can prep, and there's a counterplay to that you can actually out prep yourself. I had some crazy play in mind, for instance, that Icer was going to come with some kind of control shaman, and I tried to play into it by bringing Malygos Druid, and I went away from a more aggro teched Druid deck that I should have brought instead, and it cost me a match.
I mean, you're absolutely right. You definitely can talk yourself right into a good idea or right out of a great idea very easily when you can't see the lists, and you're never quite sure, obviously, right up until that deck is queued against you, what you're going to be going with. And hey, you might not even know 4 or 5 turns in the game exactly what it is, just because of all the weird text that people can kind of sneak into their decks. But we will talk about that later. So let's finish out. We'll speedy zoom here because we're going to be on week 2 for a while at our current pace. So let's just go through real quick. The Stubbs versus Prep did happen, and kind of to be expected. The Stubbs is looking pretty solid out of the gate at 2-0. Prep is 1-1, but they did fall here. Icon, you took it on the chin a bit versus Comp. He swept you. I guess I'm not entirely shocked by any of the other results. Ozma maybe over Ron Mexico 3-2, but that was close, so I can totally see that. And Saku hung tough in match against Shansui. So Icon, what happened there, bud?
I played WoW for 6 days, and
That'll
then
happen.
I had like a podcast thing that I was going on about 30 minutes before I was supposed to play, and so I grabbed my phone, I put 4 decks in, and I played, and I will if Comp is okay with it, I will literally just post my replays in the Legacy Series channel, but basically every game was I would get up to like right the turn right before it would flip around, if that makes sense, like where the control versus beat domer would switch, and I would have like locked up the game, and then he would do some like lethal from 20 and I would just die. So I don't know, dude. I'm not gonna pretend like I spent an insane amount of time prepping. If we play somebody difficult, maybe I'll prep next time.
I think I value prep in any situation, honestly. But it is good to hear that despite it being, a 15-year-old game, WoW is still ruining things for people. For
Yeah.
some people, like in my age, it was college in their grades, but at least it just being a amateur Hearthstone league format series, that's not quite as devastating, I suppose. But you might want to have a talk with your teammates about prep there. Abe Haas versus the Pod People. This was a tight match against a couple teams looking to claw back in to the discussion, and Abe Haas got the win. No sweeps here. Snake with a win over our hat, 3-2. I'm sure he's just kind of getting used to being back in the U.S. Shout out again to Hat for his his wedding and honeymoon, of course, over in Italy. And Two Star continues to have a fantastic opening to the season with a 3-1 win over Wicked Good. And now, Skills, I know you know Wicked Good a little bit better than we do. He's off to an 0-2 start. Do you think that's indicative of anything prep wise, or is he just having a rough time with the meta? Anything that might get him sparked in the right direction?
I think that once we start seeing all the conquest stuff come out with the new, not season, but the upcoming cups that are going to be played, I think Wicked Good is going to turn it on and just kill everyone because he's going to have so much background and information about all the conquest lineups and all the stuff that he does for MPH and the meta reports and stuff like that. That he's just going to have the best decks every single week and he's going to crush it.
I'm looking forward to it. I guess I'm looking forward to stealing some of his ideas then, because I'm not too proud to take good information when I can get it. So let's jump on over to Hero series. So this is our last Hero standing series. And we're going to start in the Purple Conference with my team, Notorious BIGs versus Asa, dude. 15-10, we got the win. It wasn't quite as pronounced as week one, but there was a couple tough fought games. Let's see, I managed to win over Medusa's 3-1, Jammies with a 3-1, but the big one was Anfall with a 3-0 sweep over Silver T-Fox Demon. Definitely was a little bit surprised, not surprised that Snake beat Shim Jim, but Shim Jim has been so hot lately. I was just kind of assuming that he would carry us in the 1 seed there. That did not happen. So big shout out to Snake for starting the season 2-0. And Asa, dude, I think is a team that will continue to be in the discussion and be a potential playoff team. And I look forward to seeing, probably a rematch with them maybe in the playoffs, first round, hopefully. But yeah, solid matchup there. I'm obviously very excited with how the bigs are starting out. We've exceeded, I think, a lot of people's expectations with only 2 losses so far, so that's real good. The next match is a little bit hard to talk about without talking about what kind of happened, but the Minutemen beat Monkeys in it wasn't Monkeys in a Tree, but it was Wait. This isn't Specialist before, so they won 20-2. But you can see there are 3 DQs in the middle there, and unfortunately we had quite a few of the players not opt to return for week 3. But that does play into a little bit of a positive story here. We have a new team stepping up, Monkeys in a Tree. They are all members of NPH, so we're going to be talking about them a little bit later. There's not too much to say about this match, unfortunately, as it really never quite got going. So I think we'll move on for now and address the new hero team in a little bit here. So let's talk about Ugly Mucklings. They beat the original Team No Pros here, 17-11. Ugly Mucklings is a perennial contender. So, Skittles, this one was your game. You did end up falling to Icer, as you said, 3-2. Icer, a fantastic player as well. And then a lot of close matches here, even though the score was a 6-point difference. Nobody ended up getting swept. Agent PWE is 0-2 in the 2 seed right now. I don't know too much about your NPH guys, so why don't you take me through kind of how everyone's feeling to start the season and what you guys think you can do to keep pushing for playoffs here.
So we have been constantly prepping and changing decks as we progress throughout the week, and it had come down to the matchup between Agent and Juggerlaw, and I think Agent brought a deck that he was less comfortable with, but felt that he could pull a sweep off, and it ended up almost backfiring to him getting swept, because we needed the sweep to end up winning the week. And yeah, he almost got swept because of it. So that was a little unfortunate, but I think he'll bounce back this week, coming in again at the 2 seed. Pasca 1-1. He's doing real well. Lawful Dog is nothing to screw with. He's a really good player, and I kind of expected that match to go that way, but it was good on Pasca to at least pull out the 3-2. Disco pulling out the 3-1 over Arthano. Arthanu? I don't know how to say
Arthur now, I
that name.
believe, yeah.
Yeah,
Arthanau?
it's Arthur
Okay.
and
Yeah. That was a really good turnaround for him with losing week 1 in a close matchup, and then Electabuzz getting the 2-3 loss in the 5th seed is not too bad either. We'll definitely come back strong this week, I think, though.
Well, we'll talk about that in a little bit as well. And yeah, the Chronic in that 5 seed, he'll be a 4 now. That's a low spot for him. He finished just 4th in the THL World Cup, against a lot of 1 and 2 seeds. So yeah, that's an impressive result nonetheless for Electabuzz. And JR, shout out to him. He's 2-0 right now, and we've got about an hour before I try to end that and send him to 2-1. So we're playing right after this. We'll get the week kicked off for Hero, right? But let's talk about ATL versus Tanpams. These are Tanpams, a team that struggled out of the gate here. At ATL, they were kind of slept on a little bit. They're 1-1 now, so they're still kind of in the hunt, and plenty of season left to go. But they big win 17-9 here. Force of Will, particularly over Osmonaut in the 5 seed with a 3-0 sweep. But I like what ATL did here. Omzi with a 3-2 win as well to go to 2-0 over Dirty Mike. I guess I'm a little bit more surprised by Tanpams than I am ATL getting on track. Icon, what did you think about this match here?
people are going to have to start rating ATL again, because one of the biggest question marks was if the players that they lost were going to get their slots filled in like an equally successful way. And I think Omzi is definitely doing that. And the last time that ATL had good unknowns sort of working for them, they almost won a championship. So I would definitely be much more scared of them if I was a team in Hero Series than I was originally.
I agree. So Teal, the other half of Hero. We'll start with what the heck?
We'll
Bees.
start with Pelletier.
This is me. This is the congestion speaking here. Bees versus Kel's Good Boys. 15-12 in favor of Bees, but it's close match, and KGB still right up at the top of the Teal Conference. Lotus, you did end up taking out Jayak in the 1 seed over here with a 3-2 win, and very close across the board. But 2-star Mako, another win for him over Pond. Looks like Pond had a bit of a rough week, unfortunately, and Copper Talon getting the job done versus Turd Herder. So Lotus, why don't you talk to us about this match?
Sure. So we at KGB were finding all the secrets here and just keeping strong. Now I feel like this was a very strong week. Both teams are really good, and I feel like both of my teams faced the number 1 teams in their division this week, which is great. So this was just a good match all around. Again, Mako in the 4 is just what we're going for, because that is not okay. But our whole team is doing well. Yeah, I'm excited to see how we continue.
Yeah, that was a 1-2 matchup, as you mentioned, and you guys, even though you lost, you're right there. So not a result to be too upset about, but if you are the Bees, that is a result to be pretty happy about, to know that you went toe-to-toe with one of the best in the conference and took home the win. So good on them, and hopefully we can see them continue to do that. Well, let's jump down here to the Cult versus Tap Last. That was this is a close match. Avi with a 3-0 sweep over Bill Snyder in the 1 seed, and Itachi with a 3-0 sweep over Myanodon. And then Base swung it back in the opposite direction with a 3-0 win for the Tap Last over Big Ted. But then the bottom 2 seeds were tight, 3-2, 3-2. I like the team makeup that Avi seems always seem to be. He's such a strong 1 seed. He always pairs himself with like a really, really strong 2 seed. And Itachi, I think, is going to get the job done in the 2 seed more often than not. let's. My computer's popping up and telling me I need to do things. I'll do what I want. Dad Legend versus AskHS. Dad Legend, the hero version, of course. Slightly different team makeup. I think the big story here might be that Hockey Boys is 0-2 out of the gate, but I think he might be a little bit rusty, Hearthstone wise. I don't remember him playing too much before the season started. Though Dad Legend did get the win. Looks like there were quite a handful of DQs though. Artistry, Shadow Ranger. I think Shadow Ranger had a time zone issue, if I recall correctly. I don't know what happened to Artistry, and I don't know what happened with Notorious GHP and Desharmo. But yeah, not too much action in this game, unfortunately, since it was majority DQs.
Both SKHS and Tap Blast are experiencing some unknown form of like large scale disintegration right now. So I think that maybe after like 3 weeks when the dust settles and they've played a couple of like matches with their dedicated rosters, I think we should be able to get a little bit more information on both of those teams and how they shape up versus the rest of Hero.
It's tough to talk about that too and say like, oh, well, let's get them on track. Yeah, there is plenty of time left in the season, but if you take another 2 weeks to get back on track, by that point you're over halfway through the season and it might be too late. So hopefully they can get on track sooner than later. Kel has just unleashed his true power. Aren't you on the board, Dante? I am on the board. When I say I don't know what happened, I mean I don't know like why there was a DQ. Like I don't know why one person didn't show up. I know one person didn't show up. I'm not dumb. I read the emails, okay?
Imagine being on the board and checking your emails in 2019.
Dude.
Omega lol.
I was checking emails all day today because I had a massive dispute with my daycare center, but that's not really relevant or entertaining at all for this show. So
I'm going to ask you about that in like the intermission or something like that.
It was super heated, let me just tell you. There was so much sarcasm.
I'm even more interested now, but okay, yeah, go on.
I don't want to clog the show up. So we're going to talk about Pro Series real quick. This is Shield and Conquest, of course, for those who are new to HearthCenter. Propane Gang, kind of the surprise of Week 1, continues to surprise with a 2-0 or 11-8 win over Tap Blast. They moved to 2-0. Tap Blast drops to 0-2. This was Mako's first loss in any of the series, and Kungmar. Let's talk about him real quick because not only did he win 2-1, he's currently at least I think ranked 2 on the.
He was ranked 1 on both for a while.
He was ranked 1 on both North America and Europe, but I think he's 2-1 right now. 2 on North America, 1 on Europe. So he's just like good at Hearthstone, I guess, or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Wow. I feel a little less bad about like my team losing closely to
sure.
Yeah,
I mean, like, how do you get mad about that? Like, he's clearly he's loving the meta. Yeah. He said he's never hit rank 1 before, and he did it twice in at the same time. So shout out to Kungmar for that.
Yeah, well.
But yeah, not much else to say. THC and I have a deal where only one hat can win for. I like it. All right. Yeah. So I do like that. There's 2 hats on the Propane Gang. That's fun. But yeah, our hat good for you with the 2-0 sweep over Typhoon. It's weird to call something a 2-0 sweep, considering it's just 2 wins. But speaking of 2-0 sweeps, Chaboy got 2-0 swept by Brushy Tuna in the next game. The Unknown takes it over the other guys 10-6. I will say I hate Highlander Hunter. I do not like it. I was like, in both of the games that we played, I had like 6+ outs in my deck with like 12, 13 cards left, and like 4 straight turns I didn't draw any of the outs, and I was like, Zephyrus, where are you? So, but shout out to Brushy. He managed to stabilize in both the games we played, navigated it well, and they definitely deserve the win. The Unknown will be 1 point behind the Propane Gang, but at 30, I'm sorry, the 26 includes the 10 already. I'm trying to do math on the fly. But so Unknown's actually going to be tied with Propane Gang, and that's a pretty big deal here. I did like the Unknown coming out of the gate, so I'm not surprised that they are doing so well. That Brick guy sub of Propane Gang, he's a mutt. He's 1-0 though.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how hard Tap Blast is throwing right now based on like what's been going on internally, but I mean, if they were bringing their best, then good stuff to Propane Gang. Definitely putting up the numbers.
I mean, either way, 11-8 is still a close match for sure. And speaking of close matches, how about Dr. Bill Shakalaka 10-9 over Bad of the Moan? I don't know if anybody saw this coming.
Wow, yeah. I mean, this is what they've been talking about for 2 seasons, and they finally made it happen. Derivis Still the absolute king of every possible series ever. Just cannot lose. But other than that, super cool that Boom Shakalaka get a really really big win. Happy for them.
Yes.
You know,
touching on Daravis real quick here. I can't wait until we see Daravis against Kungmar.
oh man,
That's gonna be hype. Holy mother. Yeah.
We
Wow.
should just make that like a best of 20. Get as much Hearthstone as possible out of that.
There's going to be competition to cast that one.
So Avi with a 2-0 win over Myanodon. Myanodon's starting 0-2. Starting maybe maybe we talk about the THL World Cup curse. I feel like you win the World Cup and then you struggle coming into the actual series seasons. But yeah, that was
Fuel's really having a lot of trouble. I agree.
See, this is why I lost last week. So I get to play Satiros instead of Daravis this week.
Battery low.
Apparently my battery's low, which you guys probably all just heard.
No.
Nope, you're good. If you didn't say anything, we would
no,
think that you had
it's
full
on
battery.
stream. It comes through when when it speaks. So, FTL 12-3 over for the boys with 4 sweeps. The only actually 5 sweeps, but SKitLLeZ, you were the sweep in the other direction. I guess what happened?
Yeah, SKitLLeZ. Yeah, tell us about that match, SKitLLeZ.
Well, I don't know what happened. I'm not gonna lie. We brought some spicy decks to try out in pro, as you guys can see. I think 2 Xantris brought APM Druid.
Charging battery.
If I'm not mistaken. And one of them had, I think it was Ace had Malygos Hunter as well, Malygos Highlander Hunter. So we had some decks to try out, and they just they didn't happen to pan out this week. That's all.
Oh, no, I meant like you beating up on Liquidox, but I mean, yeah, that works as like an overall explanation too.
Okay, so
no, just the game,
match, yeah. The match between me and Liquidox was actually kind of interesting. So, I came in and shielded Warrior because he had a bunch of relatively aggressive decks, and I played the Q mind games with him and never actually played my Warrior because he kept queuing his Paladin and I kept queuing everything else into Paladin, like my Priest and my Druid, and took a 2-0 sweep over him.
Well,
that actually sounds really intelligent when you put it like that. That sounds kind of big brain, not gonna lie. Ox came back to me and he was just like, I played Paladin twice and I played a total of 7 turns and my game lasted 7 minutes and I just died. And I was like, well, damn, that sucks. But you actually got a lot of strategy behind that. I think that's really interesting to hear.
Yeah, it was definitely a lucky Q war for sure. I could see him. I kind of figured that he would Q Paladin at least once, being that I shielded Warrior, because you would figure that I would play the shield, right?
Yeah.
But I wasn't too sure that he would do it back to back, but I got lucky and yeah, won.
That's really cool. Huh. I didn't actually know any of that. That's kind of awesome.
Well, that is that. I'm glad that you brought up, some of the strategy that goes into your matches, because the next thing that we're going to talk about here, as we transition away from last week into, one of our main topics tonight, is tech cards, and we're going to take a look at an example of tech cards doing work here, and we're going to do that in your match, SKitLLeZ, versus Icer. So I'm going to bring that up here on stream momentarily. If you believe that I can make things work in OBS.
Sometimes you just gotta hit them with those mind games, C-Mac.
You know what? Here we go. So this completely, I had the location of the clip I wanted to show saved, and it took it away. Here it is. All right. So you can see we're looking at SKitLLeZ on the top versus Icer on the bottom, and we missed the hungry crab. That was what I really wanted to show. There he is. He's just coming down. He's just destroying the world of that Murloc Tidecaller. And so you mentioned it when we talked about your decks that Hungry Crab was a focal point for you, knowing that Icer has a tendency to play Murlocs. And just how important was it for you to get that Hungry Crab down on turn 1?
It was super important because if I didn't have that Hungry Crab in there, I felt like this matchup isn't overly great for me. They can make a really big board really fast, and I, as the quest shaman, I don't really have a lot of good answers for big boards. I think I have like the elemental 1 damage clear. I can't remember what its name is right now. And then just
Sandstorm Elemental.
yeah, Sandstorm Elemental. That's the one. And then I just have a bunch of like lackeys to try and answer all of his other minions that might come out from his deck there.
Yeah, at that point, this is a deck that is it's good at putting bodies on the board, but the bodies might not necessarily be as sturdy as what Murloc can put down, Murloc Paladin that is. And of course, if they get that prismatic lens off and to tip the scales, what do you do at that point on like turn 4 or 5 if that does happen? We're going to see another tech card come up here very shortly that we're going to talk about, and that's mind control tech, especially in the quest shaman. That is a very swingy card against decks that make a big board. So, Murloc Paladin is exactly what it does. And I can't remember if in this game if it does a lot of work particularly, but yeah, it's the idea behind tech cards, of course, for everybody who I'm sure you're very well aware because you play in THL, and this is what we do, is to make sure that you kind of mitigate the terrible matchups that you have, or even just to give yourself a slight little edge in a matchup that might otherwise be even between two decks. And of course, with closed deck lists, it lets you be very creative about what you do. So let's go ahead and talk about. Well, I have Hungry Crab as our first first tech card that we wanted to talk about tonight. So let me bring the graphic up here. But we've already talked about it a little bit. We also want to talk about a couple of, like we talked about Hungry Crab, we talked about Mind Control Tech. Let's talk about Hecklebot a little bit. It is a great card to disrupt your opponent's combo. And I know there aren't a lot of pure combo decks in the meta right now, but it still can see play. It's common in Control Warrior, and it does have use in other control decks, maybe like a Control Shaman, and synergizes pretty well with Armageddon of the Warrior variety. So, Lotus, you are our stats guy, you're our tech guy. I know you get stuff to say. What do you think about these 3 cards?
So Hungry Crab is one of those cards that it's a classic tech card because it wins really hard. A 1 mana 3/4 would be overpowered in any deck. A 1 mana 3/4 that destroys a Murloc from your opponent, and for no reason really, is just, it's backbreaking, especially in a matchup that's very tempo oriented. So Hungry Crab is really strong if you know or believe that there's a high chance that your opponent is going Murlocs. And yeah, it just wins the game a lot of times. Hecklebot is a lot smarter in the sense that it's not just it wins in a particular matchup, is it can sometimes pull a small guy where it's good, or it can also just pull a key combo piece. And a lot of players swear by it. It also has great synergy with Armageddon.
So the mentioned for Hungry Crab, of course, that it can just win the game outright. And as we see in the graphic there, Sludge Slurper is literally the most common card played in Shaman at the moment. It is a turn 1. It is a very solid play, so you're gonna see it in most games. Which means if you're holding Hungry Crab and you're playing against Shaman, you are almost guaranteed to get value out of that card immediately.
Yes.
So if you are playing Shaman in Hungry Crab, or I'm sorry, not Hungry Crab, Sludge Slurper shows up in Shaman decks that are not Murloc oriented. They just want to play Sludge Slurper because it's a good card on 1. It's a battle cry, so it helps out with the quest, of course. But even then, it's still worth it. Sometimes you see it in the aggro overload Shaman. You might even see it a little bit for early game defense in like a Control Shaman. So it's just a solid played card, and anytime that's out there, Hungry Crab is going to be a worthwhile inclusion in your deck. And of course, it is a neutral, so it can go in any deck that you choose.
In touching on that, if there's one card that comes up on turn 1 more frequently than Northshire Cleric, it's Sludge Slurper. Like every single time I've played Shaman, I swear they have Sludge Slurper on 1.
It's a good card. You run 2 of them for a reason, and yeah, it's such a strong play, and Hungry Crab is just the greatest play against that. Of the 3 cards here, it's probably the one that should see the most play in THL right now. I think Hecklebot, more niche for sure. Mind Control Tech, already in Quest Shaman, but can certainly be make an appearance in other decks as well. So let's move on to a group of cards that I think are a little bit more narrow in their their utility, but are still useful in their own right. So the next 3 cards are going to be Silence, Subdue, and Flare. So Silence, it is already a card in Combo Priest, but usually you only run one of it. So a tech, in this case, might be adding a second one into your deck, and not necessarily adding it in its entirety. Since Combo Priest is almost universally the only priest that's played right now, you won't probably see anything like Quest Priest unless someone's getting really whimsical in their lineup choice. But it's still a key tech for the mirror, because that can be enough to get you through a large taunt. You could also look at using Forbidden Words. Didn't put that up here, but it is 0 mana, spend the rest of your mana to destroy a minion, and it's very good at abating early aggro. It's also good at countering an Amit that's hiding behind a taunt. And just boom, there, two mana, it's done. I can move on with my life.
Well, except that it comes back with Reborn, but yeah, that's true.
Don't tell him that. Don't tell him that. That's not important. Your opponent doesn't have Psycho Pump immediately after they play Amit every time, do they?
Well, my opponents do, but that might just be me.
Yeah, I'm just playing Combo Priest wrong, I think. How dare I not draw the cards in the correct order?
Right. It's an important part of Hearthstoning.
So Subdue is the second card here. It's a Paladin-only card, of course, spell.
Yeah.
That is, it's one I will admit I have not seen too much outside of Holy Wrath Paladin right now, but it could work its way into other Paladins if you are expecting someone to have a big baddie on board. We're not seeing too much Mage right now, so like it would be good against Giants, for example. But I don't know how much. Maybe a King Crush, I guess, coming out of Bran. But I don't know about this one. So Lotus, this is an idea you had. What is your big idea for Subdue right now?
I think, of course, Subdue is bad against Murloc decks and Tokeny decks, but Subdue can be really strong against Sea Giants, and in general, the Paladin decks that tend to play it are Holy Wrath, because you can combo it with Pyro or with a ton of other stuff, and Quest Paladin. The Quest Paladin really likes Subdue because it's a really easy way to just say, oh, this big minion that could kind of ruin my deck, I'm just going to...
You can also use Subdue onto your own Mechanical Egg, too, to create a 1/1 and trade it in to get your 8/8 out.
Very true.
Another thing that it's really good against is Magnetic. If you're ever facing a mech deck, Subdue is insane against them.
That is something I had not personally considered, but I like it. And Flare is the last card on board here, or on screen here. You might put it on board. It won't stick on board because it's a spell, but it is another good mirror card. Obviously, Hunter is the most prominent class that's featuring secrets at the moment, so you're likely going to be playing it in the mirror. But if Mage does make a comeback, secrets obviously are a key part of the mechanic for them as well. And Zul'jin will give you a second coming of Flare, which I'll admit I got hit by in THL this past week, where Zul'jin was like, oh, dude, you have like 5 secrets because you Zul'jin'd first? Well, that doesn't matter to me. So, Flare, pretty decent card if you expect Hunter, which a lot of people are bringing it. So it's, I don't think it's a card that really needs much explanation. It does what it says, and it does it well.
Yeah, the fact that it hits 2 classes is like not irrelevant. I think that hunters tend to sometimes after a Zul'jin turn have like a whole tree stacked up, and
sure
when that
do.
happens, it's nice to just delete that tree. So Flark can be pretty good in those mirrors for sure.
Yep, it's definitely a tree pruner. Absolutely.
Something that people forget, but there is another card that deals with secrets, which is SI7 Infiltrator. And that card can be okay if you're expecting secrets and you're not playing as Hunter.
Another spicy tech. And that one's not as spicy as one that's going to come up on the next slide, let me tell you. But
No.
I like where we're going. So we'll save the best for last, but Doomsayer is a classic tech. Great against aggro, obviously. Put it down on 2, slows their whole game plan, but it can also be used to halt mid-range decks. You know, it denies them a turn that they might want to do in the middle of the game. They have to then gear towards destroying your Doomsayer. You know, it's definitely a disruptive card, even if it does die and doesn't kill the board. Pair it with Frost Nova and Mage, of course, and you have a very powerful board clear. But Doomsayer right now, I'm not seeing it in a lot of decks. Do you think there's merit to playing it right now against the field of Murloc Shaman, Murloc Paladin? You know, like you throw down a Doomsayer right after you see someone Prismatic Lens, and you know they just don't want to play that right into it. It gives you kind of a turn to maybe stabilize a bit.
If you're going against Icer, it's definitely a good choice. Just saying.
Yeah, I would say in general, Doomsayer can make its way into decks that are expecting to face aggro. It definitely has a place in some Quest Druid lists if you're expecting to see aggro. Mage always loves Doomsayer. There are many decks that can just play it.
It does fit into a lot of decks. I mean, obviously you don't want to play it in any aggro deck you're running because that's just counter to your strategy. But yeah, any deck that's like mid-rangey to control level or even combo, of course, it certainly could have a place. Harrison Jones is a card that probably doesn't have a place in the current meta since it is too expensive against aggro decks, and that really the only weapons that are being run right now would be anything that pops out of Zephrys, for example. Gorehowl says hello, I'm a fireball. +1 fireball. And then you've got the hunter weapons, of course, but they're not really going to get you a lot of draw, I don't think, and it's not really as useful as like Ooze would be at the moment since that fits into a lower curve deck.
I don't mind it being teched into like a control warrior that runs
yeah, I can see that.
weapons project as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a classic combo from the last meta. You know, here you go. Oh, thanks for 3 cards. That's pretty good. Not bad at all. You know, does give your opponent a little armor, but control warrior, you're not too concerned about that because you're going to still win the inevitability game. But what is more inevitable than Hakar, the Soul Flayer? This thing, right. I had never thought about using this as a tech card until you mentioned it, Lotus. But it's great against.
I have.
You have thought about it. It is great against fatigue decks, Nomi decks, combo decks. Oh yeah, it's like, well, here we go. I'm just gonna go ahead and take a bunch of damage every turn when I draw. And hey, guess what? It puts cards in the deck that makes Highlander not work so well too. So if you're getting jacked up by Highlander Hunter, maybe it's worth it to toss this guy in there. Hopefully, it can disrupt that Zephrys a little bit.
Same for Holy Wrath. It just is really good against Holy Wrath Paladin.
Very true. Forgot about Holy Wrath as well. There's a lot of decks in this meta right now that want to empty the cards out as fast as possible, and this guy is a good counter to that.
Right.
And yes, please don't play it near the Orgrimmar Bank. Thus, you will spread the corrupted blood everywhere. If anybody remembers that, that was a huge thing.
Thinking, wow, yeah.
Yeah, that actually, it's been studied by, you know, how epidemics spread. It's been studied by actual, like, academics, that whole
It's actually
episode.
Super cool.
It's very cool. It's very cool. I highly suggest looking it up if you're interested. But yeah, those are some tech ideas. So if you're, you know, looking for something spicy in your THL match, want to maybe hide some cool tech in there, we would suggest these 9 cards as a possibility.
There are always other cards.
Plenty of other cards.
It's amazing how often I'm playing it. I'm like, wait, he plays that? How does that even fit? And it turns out that wins the game. I've seen that happen to me a lot.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. There's a lot of people who are well known for their hidden teching abilities,
Yes.
and that's part of the reason that I personally don't love closed lists, because I always seem to get smacked by him. And but I did pull the one random mind breaker tech that just ended a game. That was pretty fun. That was pretty fun for me. I did
I
that
like
against
that.
I did that against even Warlock, I believe.
Nice.
Yeah, and I coined it out, and he had no idea, and he was just like, "Wait, what? I can't tap?" So that was cool. That made me feel real good about myself.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we we are way behind on time tonight, but we're just having too much fun. So what we really want to talk about tonight is our new hero team that joined in the wake of Wait, This is Specialist leaving, and it brought in a new wave of NPH players. That's no pros here for those who are not familiar. And SKitLLeZ, that is the community that you came from originally before THL. I mean, you're still a part of that community. It's not mutually exclusive, of course, but that is, now they now have two full teams in THL, and everyone seems to be a great fit, really enjoying themselves. So I just want to talk to you, kind of how did you guys get interested in THL, and what made you, want to start participating?
All right, so first off, MPH as a whole is organization meant to introduce people of all skill levels into the joy of competitive gaming. So when Pasca had approached me about playing as a team in a league that could be for fun if you wanted to go into a week and just play some crazy decks like the Wind Fury Shaman that Hockey Boys brought this past week. Or you could go in and try out a potential lineup for any of the open cups that might be coming up and see how that went into someone else's potential lineup.
Yeah, it's definitely it's cool that there's a community. Obviously THL is very focused on the various series, but you guys are a bit more, like a broad spectrum kind of. We want to be available for players to communicate about potential matches, get involved in other areas. I know you guys run tournaments too. I was looking at the times; they are like super late for me though, unfortunately, because I was kind of interested in seeing if I could get involved in those too. But it's awesome that you guys have so many things available for the community to engage with.
Yeah, unfortunately, those tournaments are a little late. The streamer that we're partnered with actually has a bunch of stuff going on during the day and can only stream at given certain times late at night there,
I gotcha.
which is why those are have to be so late. Um, but yeah, we definitely try to hit the full spectrum of the Hearthstone community, whether you be rank 25 or rank 1 legend. We try to find something for you within our organization for sure. And we definitely don't want to leave anybody out by any means.
And that's great. THL strives for inclusion as well, of course, and we want to make sure that everyone is knows they're welcome here. And we try to keep the Discord a positive place and try to encourage friendly banter. Trash talk's always good, but at the end of the day, this is a fun amateur Hearthstone league format series. And it's all about just getting your games played and making some new friends, and that's great. We're glad to have you guys here. I was hoping you might be able to tell us about the 5 new players that are joining or there's 4 new players on the hero team. I believe Quirky Turtle is still here. And what do you know about our new hero team?
Let me just pull up their team. I know that two of the guys, I believe Sanizi and I'm Achilles, are actually new to me personally. I don't know too much about them. But Snake Fods and let me find their team here. And doesn't have it. I can't remember the other guys. Snake Fods and Carrot are two guys that have been around in MPH for quite some time, and they're fairly active members that are frequently hitting legend and getting up in that high hundreds, 200s area. So
It's an impressive place to be. I mean, I regularly hit legend myself, and I don't regularly hang out in top 200. I will admit it's tough. It's tough to get that win rate up high enough to be up there consistently and to stay.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely something I struggle with on the monthly rotation here. I frequently struggle to even just hit legend, and I can't imagine being rank 1 legend on 2 different servers at the same time. Like that is just
Shout out again to
insane.
Kungmar for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Lotus Icon, I don't know how involved you guys have been with NPH or some of the new members. Anything that you'd like to ask SKitLLeZ about the community, or any comments you've got about the new players that have come into THL, or just anything at all that you want to say to them?
Oh, it
Um,
seems interesting. I don't know.
So, one question I would ask Skittles, as someone who's been here for 2 weeks, what would be your 1 or 2 sentence? This is what you guys should know from what I've learned so far.
Anybody coming into the league needs to read the rules. Week 1, I went to a match against Itachi and didn't understand how the ban process worked for Hero Series, where you have to name the deck that you want ban. And I brought 2 different shaman decks because I wanted to ban his shaman. And it actually ended up Itachi was nice enough, knowing that we were new to the league, to just say, "Don't worry about it this time, but next time make sure that you have the deck set up accordingly so that you don't lose your ban."
I appreciate that Itachi did that. That's he's a veteran of THL, and it's always
Mhm.
nice to hear that people aren't going to try to take a free win off somebody who's just made a simple mistake, and that really is something that we value here, to make sure that we want people to have a positive experience, feel like they want to come back, and having a DQ in week 1 of your very first game, or game 1 of your very first week, I should say, is basically the worst experience you can have as a new player. So that's good to hear that we've got that spirit still alive. We've got some chat questions. We've got Ridiculous Hat would like me to tell you to please submit your classes. It is due tonight. That's right. You have 5 hours if you have not submitted yet in any of the series. So please do that as a PSA. Also, please feel free to like, follow, subscribe our channel. If you do so, it does help us out tremendously. We would much appreciate, and you get a sweet icon next to your name, which I noticed that Ridiculous Hat does not have for some reason. I don't know why he's not subscribed. Called out. Desharmo has a question for Lotus Knight. Why did he flake on me for our hero series and get Blue to play for him? Hey, Hat subscribed. And thank you, Enfall, for subscribing too. But Lotus, why don't you respond to Sharma?
I'm busy this weekend and I could only do 1 match, so I flipped a coin and it was heads, and so I did Legacy. Also, it was easier to get Blue to sub than to try to search for a sub I didn't know. I did wish I played Ducharmo, but we'll face each other in the quarterfinals or at some point, I'm sure.
It also helps when like your easy sub on hand is like 500 PR.
Yes.
That's not a bad
Yeah.
thing to have in the back pocket.
Yeah, it's a nice player to have as a. Sure, I'll sub this week. Why not?
Just gonna get a selfless plug in there. If you ever need a legacy sub, hit me up.
SKitLLeZ is actually very good.
We've had
Legacy,
Yeah.
he's
we've
won a
had
lot.
need of 2, but I think you out PR the 2 that we've needed the last 2 weeks. But that is good. Yeah, go ahead and advertise yourself in the free agent channel. If you are new to THL and you just want to get started, you're not on a team yet, and you'd like to see if you can get involved in any of the series, please do check out the website. So you can do a calculator that shows what your PR will be, so you can go ahead and advertise yourself in the free agent channel and get involved. And teams are looking for subs on a weekly basis, so odds are, even if you are not signed to a team right now, you will probably play most weeks in at least one of the series if you are a free agent. So get yourself out there. It's the best way to start in THL sans the Challenger Series, which soon TM? Who knows? But before we go, I do want to highlight there's 5 matches we want to talk about before we go. 1 in each conference of each series. So let's run through these real quick and talk about what we think is going to happen in these various games. So first match. Screen transition. First match, we can see right at the top, it's Icicles versus Tony Montana. Icicles, as we mentioned earlier, is moving up from the 3 seed to play Tony Montana in the 1 seed. Now, this is not a humongous PR difference, 421 to 508. Icicles, we can see the classes here, Druid, Hunter, Priest, Shaman for Icicles, Hunter, Priest, Shaman, Warrior for Tony Montana. I'll go quick around the table here. Lotus Knight, what do you think happens in this match based on... this is Legacy, by the way, so Conquest. Based on the classes, based on the players, what do you think happens here?
So I think Tap Last can win if they play to win, and they can lose if they don't play to win. So if their players don't care as much and don't prep as much, they're going to lose because DMB looks like a good team. Yeah. And I think the opposite could also happen.
I can tell you I play on basically the DMB Pro version, and there's a lot of prep that goes on in our Discord, so I know that these guys are prepping hard for these matches, even though it's it's hard, I guess. Like if you're a 1 seed that sees a 3 seed jump up to play you might try to take them a little bit lightly, but I don't think Tony's going to do that this week. So personally, I think Tony welcomes Icicles to the 1 seed with a win, and I'll say 3-1 in favor of Tony. Icon, what do you think?
I think that Tony has been doing this a lot longer than Icicles has. I think I would give it to him. He's a veteran, and I also like Tony's classes into Icicle's classes. I think that the Warrior in particular is going to do quite well versus things like that Priest and that Shaman. So I would give it to...
All right. Skittles, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I'm on the same side there, going with Tony Montana for the win. Just based off of PR. Obviously, I don't know too much about these guys, but I do like Icon said, the Warrior into all those classes.
Yeah, and interesting that Icicles did not bring the Warrior. If nothing else, it makes your opponent decide whether or not they want to play against Warrior. But yeah, I agree. I think that's it's a good setup for Tony. Hopping over to Legacy Gold, wanted to highlight a match in the Vandegrift Esports versus Pod People game. So Josen, we talked about, got his first win of the season. Ridiculous Hat is 1-1. He's in chat. We can trash talk him directly right now while he defends himself, but do we think Josen has a shot? Oh wait, match results in, by the way. Are you kidding me? Well, let's not reveal it. Let's guess what happened before we look, because I haven't looked yet. Nobody looked. Nobody cheat. God damn it, Hat! You ruined this segment. We're moving on.
Let's just move on.
Whatever. Hat wins 3-1. Okay.
That was a steal.
Well, at least he saved us some time. So this one I wanted to talk about. It's the only 2-0 match of these two teams here. It's me versus JR, which is happening in about 20 minutes. I think I'm going to sweep because I am supremely confident in me, but I'll hear what you guys have to say. Skittles, what do you think based on the class selection?
I think that Juggalo is going to crush you this week.
Ow.
That Paladin into all those decks is just going to be too much for you.
Yeah, I kind of agree.
Guys, I got a ban. Icon.
I disagree. I actually think that Donde is going to do very well. I think that A, as you said, he has a ban, and B, I think that this is not a physical children's card game played on a board. This is an emotional game played with tilt, and I think that Donde is going to be able to not tilt over JR, and I think that JR is going to there's going to be like some card is going to be played, and then JR is going to tilt off the face of the earth, and then like lose the next 3 games. So I would go 3-1 Dante.
I'm a little tilted right now, just that everyone thinks I'm gonna get crushed.
Well, last time I used to say every match was just fun and I like all the players, but then I got feedback that I should say that a little bit less. So I'm trying to be a bit more edgy.
It's easy to be edgy to me since I'm not gonna be,
Right.
be
Just
rude
just
about
change your
it.
name to just change your name to Rankalytics and call every team that you don't like garbage or dumpster or whatever it was.
Yeah, we don't want to use the D
Sorry.
word. We don't want to use the D word. I hope that he does not put me in the industrial trash receptacle tonight, but we'll find out shortly after HearthCenter. Just remember, if you call it Dante on Tavern Dog, he's gonna fire his caster. Dusharma, I didn't fire you as a caster. You're still there, but we'll see what
He
happens.
didn't fire you as a captor. He's
For
just in charge of all
now.
content, and you better not speak out against him.
I don't know why everyone thinks I'm this dictator, but hey.
True, Desharmo with those facts. Look at that.
I
He's
don't know.
got you. He's got you dead to rights.
Probably because you're busy. So this next match I want to talk about is it's Team No Pros here, Pasca versus Dad Legends Yellow Dart. This is two teams are both 1-1, exactly the same points, 29-29. 1-1 matchup, very close PR. Like on paper, everything is the same. No class is revealed yet. Any inside info at all here, Skittles? You don't want to reveal anything, obviously, that what Pasca might be submitting, but what do you think? Based on kind of conversations with the team, how does he feel against Yellow Dart this week?
I think we feel pretty good against Yellow Dart, being Pasca's been prepping for this one after his loss last week there against Juggerlaw. He's getting ready to bounce back, so I think that I would have to give that matchup there a 3-1 for Pasca.
Hard for us to completely guess based on the fact there's no classes, but I will say Yellow Dart, he's trying to intimidate everyone a little bit more in this series because he has submitted his name in all caps. I don't know if he was just angry when he registered for Hero Series compared to Legacy. But yeah, he's a tough opponent, and I will say not only is a tough opponent, he's one of the nicest guys in THL. So Pasca, if you do don't be mean to him. He's too nice for that. Lotus, any thoughts on Pasca versus Yellow Dart?
I think it should be a solid match. Pasca has been a good player, and Yellow Dart is. He's been playing in THL for a very long time now, so should be interesting to see.
Icon, any gut reaction, any gut thoughts about who wins this match?
I like Yellow Dart too much not to vote for him. I think that he is deceptively very, very, very good, better than his PR would suggest. And
Definitely agree.
I think that this is going to be a close game. It's going to be 3-2 to Yellow Dart.
Let's see what happens. Well, we will keep an eye on that match, and we will talk about our final match, which is a guy we've talked about now repeatedly over the course of the show. It's Kungmar versus Ron Mexico. These are two 2-0 players, the only 2-0 player left for Propane Gang, versus the one of two 2-0 players for the unknown. And Ron Mexico, he played very well during the THL World Cup, which is the same, obviously same format here as what's in Pro Series. But Kungmar is like quite literally the hottest Hearthstone player on the planet right now. Like, can anyone argue that? I guess GMs aren't playing right now, so they're not doing anything, and Kungmar is like the king.
Well, ladder is very different than tournament, though.
That is true.
Like, our format is not the same as ladder. My best month in THL was the only month in the last 2 years, basically, that I didn't get legend. And it was the month I did the best for some reason.
It's a good thing that Kungmar's 2-0 in Pro then. I think he'll have a pretty good chance going into this week.
Yeah, I think he's going to have a bit of an advantage in the fact that he's clearly playing a lot of Hearthstone right now and seeing a lot of matchups. And I think even if you are, it is different. Ladder is obviously different than every individual series that THL runs, but there are some things that you can still take away from it in those individual matches. Even just seeing it from the other side, see how somebody plays a deck against you, especially the caliber players that he's been playing against. I'm sure there's a lot of info to learn there. SKitLLeZ, I don't know if you're familiar too much with either of these players. I personally was not very familiar with Kungmar before. He started playing on Propane Gang, but any thoughts on this matchup here?
Not too much going on with the matchup. Like you guys say, Kungmar is just playing on a whole nother level right now. Kind of feel bad for Ron Mexico playing into him, but I definitely expect Ron to bring some spicy techs after we had that segment earlier, and we'll see what happens.
Definitely. So best of luck to everyone this week in all series, as always. Let's try for. It's always hard, but let's try for a week with no DQs and no entire teams quitting. That might be an easier thing to achieve. But you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised if a team does have to quit, we might have to bring in 5 more NPH players, which I'm sure they wouldn't mind. But we like to keep some consistency whenever possible. So that's the show.
I definitely got some some players on the back burner if some people need to duck up.
Yeah, that's like I said earlier. Definitely anybody who even is remotely interested, please do feel free to jump in the Discord. I know it was linked earlier in chat. If someone wants to link it again, that would be fantastic. I really appreciate that. Jump into the free agent channel and just say hi to everybody and just let people know you're available. I think you'd be surprised how quickly someone will reach out to you to get you involved. So that's it. That's that's the PSA that I'll do for our new players, and always feel free to ask questions if you are in any way unsure about anything match related, anything league related, or anything at all, or if you just want to know why Lotus Knight is always using animated GIFs instead of a cam for he's our man of mystery is the answer, by the way, to that question.
Yeah.
So that's it for HearthCenter this week. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Of course, we'll be back again next week at 9 p.m. as always on Wednesday. We are still looking for a few matches, I believe, for the upcoming weekend. So if you are interested in playing on stream Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, please do go ahead to the sign up page in the Discord and fill that out, and we will notify everybody, hopefully by the end of tonight, who is playing on what stream. So that's it. Thanks for joining us for Icon, for SKitLLeZ, and Lotus Knight. I am Donde, and we will see you all next week. Have a good week, and good luck in your matches.
See you all next week.
See you guys.